Part 5. Financial Freedom as a Way of Life. Most people think freedom happens someday, when the debt is gone, when the savings account is full, when they finally make enough. But the truth is, freedom isn't a future moment. It's a daily mindset, a way of living, a habit. In this part of the book, we explored what it really means to live free. Not just financially, but emotionally, with clarity, intention, and purpose. We began with mindset, again, because no matter how much you earn or save, you'll keep sabotaging yourself if your beliefs haven't changed. You saw how your financial habits don't just shape your account, they shape your children. We teach not by what we say, but by what we model. You learned the difference between giving from guilt and giving from strength. True generosity doesn't come from sacrifice, it comes from overflow. You saw how needing less can make you feel more alive. How simplifying your life isn't about living small, it's about living on purpose. And then we confronted the cost of delay. How waiting for perfect timing silently drains your future, and how the only way forward is to begin now, no matter how small the step. Finally, we ended with the truth most people avoid. Freedom isn't a prize you win. It's a habit you build, not once, every day. You won't wake up one morning and suddenly be free. You'll become free by practicing it, through the way you spend, the way you save, the way you choose what really matters. Because financial freedom isn't about having everything. It's about needing less, owning your choices, and living without fear. Freedom isn't found in a number. It's found in how you live. And the good news? You don't have to wait. You can start now. Because freedom is not a finish line. Freedom is a habit. Chapter 25. Mindset first. You can follow every financial rule, track every dollar, live on less, and still feel broke. Because if your mind isn't free, your money never will be. After years of living paycheck to paycheck, Kevin finally got a promotion. His income jumped significantly. For the first time in his adult life, he felt like he could breathe. But the relief didn't last. A few months in, he was still stressed, still avoiding his credit card statement, still unable to save. He kept wondering, why does it still feel like I'm struggling? Because Kevin didn't just need more income. He needed a new mindset. He believed money was scarce, that it disappeared as fast as it came, that no matter how much he earned, he would never be good with money. These beliefs had followed him since childhood, when money meant tension, fear, and silence. So even with more money in his hands, he still lived in survival mode. Then came Maya. She earned less than Kevin, but seemed far more at peace. She had savings, a plan, and, most surprising to him, a sense of calm. Kevin asked her one day, "How are you not freaking out about money all the time?" She smiled. "Because I stopped believing I was bad with money." She explained how changing her habits only worked after changing her beliefs. "I had to stop telling myself that I'll always be behind, that money is stress, that I'm not smart enough to figure this out." Maya didn't get rich overnight, but she got clear. And with clarity came control. She told Kevin, "If you don't change the story in your head, your money will never change either." Kevin started small. He wrote down the beliefs he had about money. Most were full of fear, so he replaced them, one by one, with new ones. I can learn. I can improve. I am not stuck. He still made mistakes. But slowly, his actions began to shift. He checked his balances weekly. He built a buffer. He stopped using money to escape his emotions and started using it to build his future. And for the first time, he felt powerful, not panicked. Because money doesn't begin with math, it begins with mindset. Until you change what you believe, you'll keep repeating what you do. Chapter 26. Teach by example. Kids don't learn money from lectures. They learn it from watching you. Your habits, your reactions, your silence. When Rachel became a mother, she promised herself she'd teach her daughter about money. She bought books, downloaded kid-friendly budgeting apps, and talked often about saving. But something didn't add up. Her daughter Lily still seemed anxious about money. She hesitated to ask for anything. She whispered when talking about prices. One day, Rachel asked, "Why are you so nervous about money?" Lily shrugged. "Because you always look stressed when you talk about it." Rachel was stunned. She thought she was doing everything right, but she hadn't realized. Lily wasn't listening to what she said. She was watching what she did. Every time Rachel sighed at a bill, every time she panicked at a checkout line, every time she said, "We can't afford that," even when they could. Those moments taught Lily something stronger than any financial advice. They taught her that money is fear. It reminded Rachel of her own childhood. Her parents rarely discussed money, except during arguments. She never learned how to budget. She just learned that money was stressful. And now, unintentionally, she was passing that same anxiety to her daughter. So Rachel decided to change her approach. Not just what she taught, but how she lived. She started budgeting out loud. "Let's see how we can plan for this together." She stopped using fear-based phrases and started using mindful ones. Instead of, "We can't afford that," she'd say, "That's not in our plan right now." She let Lily see her save, wait, and celebrate progress. She shared small financial wins like paying off a credit card. And when Rachel made a mistake, she didn't hide it. She used it as a teaching moment. "Mom overspent this month. Let's see how I fix it." Slowly, Lily's relationship with money shifted. She began asking thoughtful questions. She even set up her own little saving jar. Rachel realized that financial education isn't a speech. It's a daily example. It's the calm tone you use when discussing bills. It's the confidence you show in handling a budget. And most of all, it's the honesty you share about both your mistakes and your growth. Kids don't need perfection. They need authenticity. They need to see that money can be handled with clarity, not fear. Because the best way to teach financial literacy isn't with words, it's with your life. Chapter 27. Give from strength. Generosity feels good, but giving without boundaries can drain you. And it often masks deeper problems, like guilt, fear, or a desire to prove your worth. Mark grew up in a family that struggled. He remembered going to school with worn shoes and skipping field trips because of money. So when he landed a steady job in his 30s, he vowed to help everyone. He paid his niece's tuition, covered his brother's car repairs, sent his mom cash every month. At first it felt fulfilling, but over time he started to feel resentful. His savings were thin, his goals stalled, and whenever he said no, the guilt crushed him. He feared being seen as selfish. One day, his friend Ava asked, "Do you help because you can? Or because you feel like you have to?" Mark paused. The truth hit hard. He had never set clear limits. He confused love with rescue. Giving had become a burden. Ava shared her own story. She used to give impulsively too. Until one day, she couldn't. She'd emptied her emergency fund to help a cousin, and then lost her job. That moment taught her, true generosity must come from overflow, not obligation. So Ava created a giving plan, a monthly budget just for giving. She chose causes that mattered and set healthy limits with family. She said no kindly, but firmly. And when she gave, it felt joyful again. Mark decided to try the same. He built a giving line into his budget. He made sure his own needs, savings, debt, security, were covered first. He started saying no without apology and yes with intention, and something shifted. He no longer felt drained or resentful. He felt empowered. His relationships improved too. People respected his honesty more than his handouts. He even helped his niece in a new way, by mentoring her, not just funding her. Because real help isn't just money. It's wisdom, time, support, boundaries. Giving is beautiful, but it must come from strength, not sacrifice. When you're secure, your generosity becomes sustainable. Not a reaction, a decision, not an escape, a gift. Chapter 28. Need less, live more. We live in a world of abundance. But sometimes abundance becomes a burden. We buy more, upgrade more, accumulate more, believing that more is the path to happiness. But strangely, the more we have, the more we crave, and the less peace we feel. Sarah had everything she thought she wanted. A spacious home in a nice neighborhood, a luxury SUV parked in the driveway, closets full of designer clothes and kitchen gadgets she used once. She worked hard to afford it all, but deep down she felt drained. Every month she paid bills for things she didn't even use. Her weekends were consumed by errands, cleaning, and organizing. Her home, once a dream, felt like a storage unit. And her schedule? A series of chores to maintain the life she had built. One Sunday afternoon, she sat in her living room surrounded by stuff and realized she couldn't remember the last time she felt rested or free. A friend invited her to a weekend getaway. Just a simple cabin, no Wi-Fi, no luxuries. At first, Sarah hesitated. What if she missed important emails? What would she wear? Would she be bored? But she said yes, and something shifted. That weekend, surrounded by nature and silence, she felt something she hadn't felt in years: calm. She realized how little she actually needed to feel joy. A cup of coffee on the porch, laughter with friends, time to breathe. When she got home, her big house felt different, heavier. She began to question everything. Why did she need 5 pairs of black heels? Why did she keep old tech she never used? Why did she chase a life that looked impressive but felt hollow? So she began to let go. She sold things, donated things, cleared out space, not just in her house, but in her mind. She stopped shopping for dopamine hits, stopped comparing her life to social media, stopped believing that success had to be visible to be real. Her new goal wasn't to have more, it was to need less, and needing less gave her more than she expected. More time, more energy, more clarity. She spent less, so she worked less. She had fewer distractions, so she felt more present. She made space for creativity, connection, and peace. The irony? Once she stopped chasing wealth, she started feeling truly rich. Because richness isn't in things. It's in the freedom to enjoy your life. Needing less doesn't mean living small, it means living smart, living true. Sarah didn't downgrade her life. She upgraded her values. And for the first time, she felt like she was truly living. So if you feel overwhelmed by all the things you own, maybe it's time to own less. Needing less is the secret to living more. Chapter 29. Money reveals you. Most people think money changes them. But money doesn't change you, it reveals you. When you don't have much, it's easy to believe you're humble, responsible, or generous. But that's often just survival, not character. The truth only shows up when you have options. Take Daniel, for example. He grew up in a tight-knit, low-income household. His parents stressed frugality and gratitude. For years, Daniel believed he was grounded and careful with money. Then he landed a high-paying job in tech. Within months, everything shifted. He bought a luxury car, upgraded to a downtown condo, and started flying first class. Not because he needed to, but because he could. His spending skyrocketed, and so did his ego. Friends noticed how he talked more about his salary than his values. He hadn't changed. He had surfaced. Now meet Angela. She also grew up with little, raised by a single mom who stretched every dollar. Angela, too, earned more as her career grew. But instead of splurging, she increased her giving. She paid off her mom's debt. She funded scholarships for students like her. And she still lived below her means. Not because she had to, but because it aligned with her beliefs. Her wealth didn't transform her. It amplified her quiet strength. Money is like a mirror. It reflects what's already inside you. If you're fearful, you'll hoard. If you're insecure, you'll flaunt. If you feel unworthy, you'll spend to prove your value. And if you're whole, you'll use money as a tool, not an identity. This is why getting rich doesn't fix self-doubt. Why no amount of status fills a hole in your self-worth. Why debt often returns when shame hasn't been dealt with. Because money is not just a resource, it's a revealer. When someone says, "If I had more money, I'd be different," they're missing the point. You don't become generous, responsible, or free after wealth. You become those things before it. Because if you can't handle a little, you won't handle a lot. That's not punishment, it's a principle. So ask yourself, what has money shown you about who you are? And what will it show others as your income grows? Because whether you're aware of it or not, your money is always telling the world a story. Make sure it's one you're proud of. Chapter 30. Freedom is a habit. Most people think freedom is a goal. They dream of financial freedom as a place they'll someday reach. A magic number in the bank, a life without limits. But freedom isn't a destination. It's not a finish line you cross. It's a rhythm, a discipline, a habit. Meet Lauren. She was 42, recently divorced, and determined to build a new life. She had a good income, no more shared debts, and a fresh start. She could have spent wildly. She almost did. The temptation to reward herself for surviving the divorce was strong. New furniture, spa weekends, a nicer car. But Lauren did something different. She sat down with a notebook and listed everything that had made her feel trapped in the past. Overspending, no savings. Saying yes when she wanted to say no. She made a decision. Her new life would be built on new habits. She automated her savings. She cut her monthly expenses by 30%, and she learned to say no without guilt. Every time she declined an impulse purchase, she reminded herself, "This is what freedom looks like." Now meet Darren. Darren got a huge raise at 35. He called it his freedom money. He upgraded his condo, leased a luxury car, took 2 overseas vacations. At first, it felt amazing. But 12 months later, he was stuck in the same paycheck-to-paycheck cycle, just with fancier things. He couldn't leave his job, couldn't take a break, couldn't breathe. He had built a golden cage, because Darren never changed his habits. He just changed the size of his expenses. The truth is, you don't wake up one day and have freedom. You practice freedom before you even feel it. Freedom is saying no to debt. It's planning meals so you don't overspend. It's choosing the used car over the leased one. It's building an emergency fund instead of waiting for a miracle. It's the habit of choosing long-term peace over short-term pleasure. Lauren didn't wait to feel free. She acted free, and slowly she became free. Darren waited for freedom to arrive like a gift. But freedom isn't given. It's grown. So if you want to be free, don't just set goals. Build habits. Because freedom is not a lifestyle upgrade. It's a daily decision. Freedom is a habit.